In the land of Israel, fear had become a way of life. The Midianites, cruel and relentless, swept through the land like locusts, destroying crops and stealing livestock. The people of Israel cried out to God for deliverance, but hope seemed like a distant memory. In the shadows of a rocky enclosure, a man named Gideon labored silently, threshing wheat in a winepress to hide it from the Midianites. His movements were cautious, his heart heavy with fear. Gideon was not a warrior. He was the least in his family, part of the smallest tribe in Israel, the tribe of Manasseh. Yet, on this ordinary day, his life was about to change forever. Gideon, a voice called, gentle yet commanding. Startled, Gideon turned to see a figure seated under the great oak tree nearby. It was no ordinary man. The angel of the Lord, radiant and serene, looked upon him with eyes that seemed to pierce through his very soul. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon froze, his thoughts racing. Mighty warrior. Surely the angel had made a mistake. "If the Lord is with us," Gideon replied, his voice trembling. "Why has all this happened to us? Where are his wonders that our ancestors told us about?" The angel's gaze softened, but his words carried weight. "Go in the strength you have, and save Israel out of Midian's hand." "Am I not sending you?" "Me?" Gideon asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "My clan is the weakest, and I am the least in my family." The angel rose, his form glowing brighter. "I will be with you," he said, his voice firm yet comforting. "And you will strike down the Midianites as if they were but one man." Gideon, still unsure, asked for a sign. He prepared an offering of meat and bread, placing it on a rock as the angel instructed. With a touch of his staff, fire consumed the offering, and the angel vanished. Gideon fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the realization that he had been in the presence of the Lord. Despite his fear, Gideon obeyed God's command to destroy the altar of Baal in his village. He did it at night, afraid of the villagers' anger, but his actions sparked a movement. The people began to see that God had not abandoned them. When the time came to face the Midianites, Gideon gathered an army, but God had other plans. "You have too many men," God said. "I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel will boast that their own strength has saved them." One by one, God reduced the army until only 300 men remained, armed not with swords but with torches, clay jars, and trumpets. By night, Gideon and his men surrounded the Midianite camp. At his signal, they broke the jars, revealing blazing torches, and blew their trumpets with all their might. "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon," they shouted. Confusion erupted in the enemy camp. The Midianites, terrified and disoriented, fled in all directions. Victory belonged to the Lord, and Gideon's faith had turned the tide of history. Gideon, the least in his family, had become God's chosen deliverer. His story reminds us that it's not about where we come from or what we think we're capable of. It's about God's power working through us when we trust Him. So when you feel small, when fear whispers that you're not enough, remember Gideon. God sees a mighty warrior in you too. You can bless someone today by sharing this video.
It's the setup, the divine design, a purpose.